Okay. Moth.
Okay. Hey guys, this is the Butterfly Effect, a podcast with Kitty here and myself, Moth. And this week we're focusing on an idea from Echo, which was a little bit different from what we did the first week, but it is the power of kindness, essentially. Um, is Echo here or no?
Yeah, he and his
Oh,
glorious pink
there we go.
wings are over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think your idea was actually the effect a smile can have. Um,
Hmm.
but we decided to expand on that and kind of delve more into like kindness as a whole.
I put on the
Um,
reversed backdrop. Sorry.
what is it? I'm sorry.
Oh, I put on the wrong backdrop for y'all.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh. I was like, it's for paranormal or something.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. That's okay. Um, so yeah, did you have anything you wanted to say on the topic of kindness before we get started?
No, just that it's amazing and it goes around.
Yeah, agreed. Um, so today will be kind of more of like an open discussion, I believe, right, Kitty?
Yep, absolutely.
Um, so first, just kind of a basic definition of kindness is the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "You cannot do kindness too soon, for you never know how soon it will be too late," which I think is a great quote because I try to keep that in mind every day because you never know when you're going to miss a chance to do kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, does anyone have any instances where they either did a kind act and you believe it had a profound effect on someone, or someone did a kind act for you? It's kind of a big question, kind of a personal question too. But I have an example if no one wants to go first.
I have
Usually
one
best of the.
if
Oh,
you guys
yes. One
want
sec,
Yeah.
to hear from
Kalima.
me.
Let me get
I
you on
know that
megaphone.
there have been several instances where I've had students, and sometimes they were some of the most obnoxious students I've had to send out of the room or, discipline in some way. And sometimes I've come back and been super kind to them, engage them in conversation, and be really outwardly friendly to them more so than with other students. And there have been several times where that has really turned the student around and made them more of an asset to the class than someone who is
That's awesome.
someone who's distracting
Mhm.
from class and bothering people. And all it took was a little bit of, being nice to them, being kind, being friendly,
Mhm.
and it can have a huge effect.
Oh, absolutely, Kalima. Actually, like I have the other half of that experience, which was my example. So in high school, I was mostly quiet and reserved, kept to myself because like I had kind of a troubled childhood. Um, I read books as like a form of escape. Um, and most of the time it seemed like I was not paying attention in class because I would just have a book open, I'd be reading it. So that was, not okay when you're supposed to be learning. Besides that, because of my home issues, I was normally late to class a lot. I did not sleep and stuff. And
Mm.
one day I came in late and I also, trigger warning, but had some self-harm tendencies. Um, so I could get a little rebellious with the teachers, kind of cop an attitude sometimes. Sometimes I was like completely fine as long as they kind of left me to my own devices. Um, but I was in psychology and it was my first period and I was running late to class because of the issues I mentioned, and my teacher kind of made a big show of like calling me out coming in late to class because I was trying to sneak in. And so I don't remember what I said to her. I think I just like slammed my book down and like, was being very dramatic. And I was just so tired and emotionally exhausted that I took a pencil and was like digging into my wrist, like under my desk. Um, I still have the scar from that. It's just, it was just my go-to to deal with stress. That was what I would do.
Wow.
And so I don't believe my teacher saw that, but she could tell I was upset because I was like trying not to cry and stuff. And um she asked me to stay after class, and everyone did the whole ooh thing, and I thought I was in more trouble. And so instead I sat down with her. She waited till everyone left, and then she just looked at me, and I was ready to be a complete bitch to her. I'm not gonna lie, like I was ready for it. And she looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I just like burst out crying. Um so like it is very important, and like my respect for her after that day like completely grew, because like she took the time to not immediately get pissed off at this little rebellious kid, but to kind of think beyond that and be like, there must be something causing this. And yeah, it was a really important moment to me that I think helped me through some of the heavier moments in my life, thinking back to that like people do care. So
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is wonderful.
yeah, and I loved hearing your side of it as well because they were very connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yeah.
easy
Honestly, that brought
to.
tears to my eyes thinking about
Aw.
your
Oh,
experience and some of my other students' experiences. Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they really are. A lot of them are going through it. So teachers
Mm-hmm.
like you definitely help out for sure.
And you have to think, right, for those kids, the teachers, who do they see the most besides their parents? It's the people that
Mhm.
are teaching them and getting them through school. And on the teacher's side of it, and really on any side of it, it's so easy to let this behavior that's really, maybe more of a cry for help, to let the badness of it hit you in that way where it's irritating and all you want to do is like, punish or inflict that harm, even if it's not
Mhm.
physical harm or whatever, but like, just
Yeah.
kind of,
Mirror it
it's
back.
so, yeah, it's so much easier to fall into that. But the taking the opportunity to just actually check in and see what's going on or if there can be some help, it makes a world of difference. And
Mhm.
people might not realize that until they see it happening in front of them, but it really does.
Yeah. And
And
it's oh, sorry.
oh no, your hubby there was just jumping. I didn't know if he had something to weigh in.
No, sorry, I hit the wrong
Oh,
button.
okay. Go ahead, Ma.
That's
Sorry.
funny. I was just gonna say it's a powerful thing, kindness, because
Mm-hmm.
even, I mean, in every aspect, but thinking about it, like if you're trying to derail a bad situation and you, like you said, you were mirroring and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse,
Mm-hmm.
like someone abruptly doing an act of kindness inside of all that is like normally a complete stop on the situation, it seems like,
Mm-hmm.
because you just were not expecting that. That's how it
Yeah.
was for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Did anyone else have any experiences they wanted to share? Mm. Kitty, do you have anything new?
um, and I don't know. This is so this is something that I've shared before, but it's something that has always stuck with me. So I've always been like clumsy my whole life, and I have the unique skill of not falling down the stairs, but falling up them. I haven't done that in a long,
Mm,
long time.
Oscar
I
has
do
But
that
logged
too.
into the
um,
mainframe.
now there was a time when I was in. I think I was still in grade school. We were probably in, I don't know, grade 6 or grade 7, and one of the cool things about being in those upper grades is you could actually leave the school property for lunch, and the school was very close to downtown, and the high school, one of the high schools, was right downtown. So we would run and go for lunch at one of the restaurants downtown when we had some spending money. And one time when we were crossing the road, I literally tripped and I fell in the middle of the road. And, you just get up and
Mhm.
keep going. But of course, your pride is hurt, whatever. And then
Mhm.
there's these guys, and they were high schoolers, and they were like laughing, and they had seen it from within the restaurant, and we go in the restaurant, and they're like laughing, and you're even more embarrassed. But like
Yeah.
one of the guys that was sitting at that table, that was a high school kid, he got up and came to our table, and he asked me if I was okay and everything, and that just. I don't know. I didn't
Aw.
expect it, right? Especially from like high school boys, and especially when you're like
Yeah,
younger,
definitely.
and
Mhm.
I think that's why it stuck with me like for all these years. I always remember that moment. It's just like the fact that you just feel like sure, you're embarrassed, your pride is hurt more
Mhm.
than anything, but the fact that somebody like a stranger gave a shit enough that when his friends are laughing at you to just go over and make sure you're okay, and that, I don't know, it really
Mhm.
like resonated, I guess. So
Yeah, absolutely. Because you always expect the worst, especially when you're
mhm.
young like that. You think
Yeah.
everyone's gonna remember it forever, and
Yep.
they're gonna always laugh. And
Exactly.
yeah, but it's not always that bad. I think,
Mhm.
especially God, when you're young though, you just think the world is completely against you.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Mhm. Um, I remember, I think it's harder for me to talk about acts of kindness that I do myself than
Uh-huh.
like acts of kindness people do for me, because I don't want to sound like I'm like bragging or like making it into, there's the TikToks and stuff where they're like,
Yeah.
watch me. I have mixed feelings about those. I actually wanted to
Mhm.
talk about those today,
Oh,
but
yeah, okay.
I have ADD, so I'm jumping around a lot.
That's
Um,
okay.
but I will get back to that. But yeah, so just to share an act of kindness I remember doing. And it wasn't, honestly, it wasn't an intentional act of kindness. It was just kind of like instinct, I guess. I worked in dietary in a hospital. Let's see, would have been like, man, maybe like 10 years ago now. Shoo. Um, and I was working the heart floor, the cardiac unit. And I went, and this lady, she was on a heart healthy diet, unrelated information, but so I went to get her order, and her husband was standing at the foot of her bed. They were both an elderly couple, and um so she was asleep. So I was just going to move on, but the husband happened to turn around and see me, and he said something to me, but I couldn't hear, so I walked closer, and the lights were all off in the room. You could like barely see because she was sleeping. And he just looked at me and had tears in his eyes, and he's like, "They just told me that she's going to die soon. What am I going to do?" And he's like, "She's my whole life." And
Oh.
so I was not mentally prepared for that. And he was like, an adorable elderly man, and so I just hugged him, and like definitely not something we were supposed to do, but it was just like I couldn't not. um and he cried on my shoulder for like the longest time,
Oh.
and she actually ended up, I believe, living through that hospital stay, because it's one of those things, like they had told him that, so
Mhm.
you keep expecting to come into an empty hospital bed, but like she was still there, and eventually, before they left, he sat me down and like thanked me, and well, it didn't really sit me down, I just stood there, but he thanked me for having that moment with him, and
Mhm.
he said he really needed to cry, but like you try to be strong and stuff, and then
Mhm.
if anyone gives you that like tiny sign of kindness, that I feel like that breaks you when you're trying to keep it
Yeah.
all
Oh
in.
God, yes.
Yeah.
And it's harder for
Um,
men too because like
mhm.
society sees that as a weakness, but like everybody has emotion and everybody has
Oh yeah.
feeling.
And he needed to get that out for sure.
Mhm.
So, and it was strong of him to be able to do that, especially considering he came
Mhm.
from an even stricter generation when it came
Yeah.
to men's emotions.
Absolutely. Mhm.
But that moment meant a lot to me, and I'm sure it meant a good deal to him. So kindness definitely has an effect on helping people through things. Quantum.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, not related to that, but there is this quote that I saw online that I really like, and it's kind of a twofold thing about kindness. It's if you're honest without kindness, you're being mean. If you're kind without honesty, you're being manipulative. So you
Mm,
need both, like kindness and honesty. I don't
mm,
think it always applies in every situation, but I did like it, and it kind of makes you think
Mhm.
about like how you use it and wield it out there. That has something to say about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hmm.
That's a great quote. I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah. And I think that kind of ties into the whole topic of TikTok, whatever social media videos where
Mhm.
the person is using their act of kindness to kind of gain popularity.
Mhm.
Um, and there's just like, I don't know, it sours it when you're kind of putting this person who needs help their entire life on display, robbing them of their dignity essentially. Um, but at the same time, the act of kindness is being performed, and I don't know, so I have mixed feelings on it. I feel like sometimes it can inspire other people to do similar acts of kindness, but sometimes people just take it too far and they're like exposing every aspect of, say, like a homeless person's life. And I'm like,
Mm.
that is not the way to do that.
No. There's so there's a couple things. I know there's this one. I can't remember the name of this TikToker because I honestly I haven't had one of his videos come up on my feed in a while. But there's one that does it, and I know that he does. I think he does GoFundMe's with some of them, and some of them I've
Mm,
seen have raised quite a bit of money where it's actually like put somebody into housing kind of thing and paid for an
mm-hmm.
apartment and they've gotten a job and stuff like that and all that stuff is great and the fact that they can put that out there and they can raise that money and help somebody like that is amazing. But then you've also got the ones like the one there was a big controversy I think a few months back where he was filming himself ordering burgers and the TikTok would be he's filming himself ordering 100 burgers, but the reality was, maybe he actually got 10 or something like that. So, but the way that the filming is done, it leads you to believe he's actually like feeding 100 different people when really he's not.
Oh,
So that
that's
is definitely
shady.
and it was found out. I if I'm remembering correct, I think it was actually like a cashier from one of the videos kind of blew that open.
Oh,
Yeah, but that kind was definitely to just try and make yourself some money by making yourself look like you're helping people, even though you're not helping as much as you're leading people to believe.
yeah. And
So,
that's definitely the lack of honesty, like with
mm-hmm,
Quantum's quote.
mm-hmm, exactly.
Um, but at the same time, it is some people are getting fed, but
Mm-hmm.
I would agree that that one's like a case that he would need to change that. Like, that's
Yeah,
not
like
cool.
he's definitely doing it for the attention, for the views, for the creator fund, whatever, just
Mhm.
that's basically that's not helping people for the want of helping them. That's like just trying to get yourself a career
Mhm.
based on, a house of lies.
Yeah. Um, I did see like a good one though. It was enjoyable to watch because it wasn't like the YouTuber wasn't exposing like this lady's entire life. It was almost like they became friends and they were doing the videos together, which was cool.
Mhm.
But it was I would say like a guy in his 20s, and the lady he was helping was probably in her 50s maybe, and she was
Mhm.
homeless. She had lost all of her teeth due to, just not being able to take care of herself,
Mhm.
whether that was mental health or just not being able to afford things. But so she didn't have any teeth. She was very self-conscious about her smile.
Mhm.
And I remember he used a GoFundMe to pay for her to get those what are the implants called?
I think they're just like dental implants.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah.
yeah,
And
very expensive.
yes, the really good
Mhm.
ones. And she was
Mhm.
just bawling when she saw herself smile
Mm.
and she was like, I am so beautiful. And oh my God,
Aw,
that was like the best.
that's
And he,
amazing.
yeah, he got her a job, he got her a car. Like they
Mm.
would post all these updates, and that was just like really good stuff because she was in on the videos too, and like she seemed like she
Mhm.
was having a great time. So I didn't think that was really too much manipulation or anything that it
Mhm.
got from the crowd was like seemed like it was going to her. So
Yeah.
that was a really cool one.
And just you mentioning that she was in on it, and obviously her consent was there, but I
Mhm.
just wonder, and even the ones that are actually doing good and stuff, like when you see them, walk up and offer the food and everything, you have to wonder, like, did they, off camera explain and ask, is it okay if I post this? Because
Mhm.
maybe some people don't want it posted.
Yeah. I would hope they would at least ask their permission afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like um but at the same time people in those positions might feel like they don't really have a right to say no. Like
Yeah, especially after they've gotten the help or whatever.
mhm. Yeah, so that is difficult, but
One where I think that they do some get permission is the one, if you've ever seen it, where he'll go and he'll ask people, what they want to eat, and then he'll bring them the food, and then he'll like take them to go shopping to get stuff they need and that kind of stuff. Those ones
mhm.
always seem like they know what's going on, because when they're in the car, he usually does like a little interview kind of thing with them to
Yeah.
find out
That
what
one.
led them. Yeah, you know the one I'm
Mhm.
talking about.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. I've
Hmm.
seen those before.
Hmm.
I like that setup too.
Yeah. So in like
So oh,
oh, I was just gonna say sorry, just because you had asked
you're
if
fine.
anyone had a story
Mhm.
about the kindness, just, and it's the thing, I think the term is what, humble brag, like when you talk about
Mhm.
yourself doing some good stuff, not
Yeah.
to humble brag for anyone, but is there like anyone else who wanted to share now that we've had a little more of a discussion at all? No, they just want to listen. It's because you're here, Moth. They're just here to listen to your beautiful voice.
Oh no. My
I'm
beautiful voice
actually
needs some water right
Oh.
now.
Oh.
I yeah, I can kind of give a humble brag on Moth, because obviously she doesn't
Aw.
like to brag about the kind things that she actually does, but I see her do them all the time, and she does do a lot
Oh.
of like random acts of kindness and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
One of them that I really like is that when she goes through the line at a checkout, she'll act like she doesn't know which candy bar she wants to pick, and then the cashier will pick one for her, and then she will buy that candy
Aw.
bar
The
for
This
next
that
player,
person.
420, is here with
Oh, that
his
is
snowy
so
white cheeks.
sweet.
Yeah,
that
Aw.
is
That's
so
really
true.
yeah,
nice. I like that.
she does stuff like that all the time. She just hates to brag about it, but she literally does kind things like all the
Uh,
time.
Oh, I'm not
oh,
surprised hearing that.
I'm glad my avatar doesn't blush because I would be like
Aw.
red. Um But yeah, I recommend doing that one, although it is tricky. Sometimes I'm not smooth with pretending that I don't like I'll be like, "Oh," like a good one to do is like, "Man, I'm buying someone a candy bar." Like, I don't know, normally I'll say like a friend or like a coworker, and I don't know what kind of candy bar they like. Like, "What's your favorite candy bar?" Because it's really hard to like say it without it being
Mm-hmm.
completely obvious what you're doing. And I don't know, I just like normally it like brightens their day and like there's this specific cashier. She's like this elderly lady and she's so adorable. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime I see her and it's normally months between, I like to go to her line and do that. And every time you can tell she has this little light bulb where she's like, "Is this the same girl that's done that like the past few times?" I've gotten her like 3 or 4 times now, but I can't. Oh, her name's Ellen, but I doubt she's watching this. So, but she's adorable.
I think that the random acts of kindness thing is a great way just to like brighten a stranger's day. It doesn't really matter who it is, but I think it's also training yourself to be more kind in general and be more thoughtful. It's like practice makes perfect sort of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it makes kind of like what you said. Those neural pathways of just giving out kindness. The more you do it, the more you're likely to think of taking that path in a situation instead of being quick to anger. Um, Although it's not like I don't get angry. I definitely still get angry sometimes. No one's perfect. Everyone's a human. It's important to remember that like the other person you're talking to is also a human being that's probably maybe having a rough day. Um, so I'm trying to think of some other situations.
Well, just what you said there about the bad day and stuff. I think too sometimes like when you see somebody lashing out and you see somebody like being rude like that, sometimes it's just because of whatever's going on in their life or whatever's happening in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, and not because
Mm-hmm.
they are a terrible person. Not to say that there aren't some terrible people out there, but sometimes when you actually like address it, it kind of stops them in their tracks and they
Mm-hmm.
realize, and you can see that change or that like slight modification and the sheepishness kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That
the
is
people
totally
who
true.
often need it most.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So that did trigger a memory for me, which was actually the candy bar idea came from someone who did it to me to begin with, which it wasn't the same
Aw.
situation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so Quantum and I were living in Wyoming at the time, and we lived on a military base. And coming
Mm-hmm.
through the security, you would have to talk to the guys that like protected the gates and stuff, and show them your ID and stuff like that. And it was hit or miss with these guys. Sometimes they were complete jerks, and then sometimes they were like super nice. And I was having a really terrible day. Again, I don't remember the specifics of the bad stuff, like what made that day so terrible, but I remember the good thing, which was as I came through the gate, um, there was this security guard like smiling, and I remember thinking like, oh, you think the worst, because sometimes these guys would like be
Mm-hmm.
creeps, and so I thought it was going in that direction. And um, so I immediately had a negative mindset about it, and I was ready to be a jerk to him back. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, he was like, "How's your day been?" And I was like, you could tell I was having a bad day. Like I had, RBF. And so he was like, "How's your day been?" And I was like, "Oh, awesome." And he was like, he did not lose his smile or anything. And he's like, "Well, I've been waiting for someone like you to come through the line." I was like, "Here we go," and
Oh
I
no.
was ready to be an asshole. And he whips out this candy bar and he's like, "I just really wanted to give this to someone who was having a bad day. And like, you seem like you're having a bad day."
Aw.
And so I completely, because it caught me off guard, immediate crying. That's what happens to me if people are
Aw.
nice to me when I'm upset, immediate crying. So, which he didn't see it because I managed to hold it together, but I drove the whole way back to the house like crying, like
Aw.
in a good way though. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, people are good sometimes. Like, not
Mm-hmm.
everyone's bad, and it's hard to remember that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And that brings up another interesting point too, is just the effect, like, and the way that it can shift that mood and change how you're feeling.
Mhm.
Like it just it's just like you've been completely redirected and moved away
Mhm.
from, like, that anger or that upsetness or that bad day, and just, pushed onto something better. And
Mhm.
I don't even know if people realize that kind of effect that they're having when they take that moment to do that kind thing, but it definitely causes a butterfly effect, because then that's also going to change your interactions with people, like, for the rest of that day.
Oh yeah. Immediately I was like kind of feeling guilty that I judged this guy before he even did
Mm.
anything. And that kind of put in mind for me not to do that, the rest of the day or however long it was on my mind, not to think the worst.
Yeah.
Um, it is a hard thing to remember though. Um, but I also thought of a humble brag I have on Quantum to get him back.
Aw.
Um,
And then after that, I think Divine wanted to say something. Go ahead.
oh yeah, sorry, Divine. Are you okay if I go with that first, or we can hear from you first?
Yep, she's okay for you to go.
Okay. All right. So, Quantum has a friend where we grew up, and he's been texting him a lot more lately. And then while they were texting, and I won't go into details because this kind of involves medical stuff within a family,
Mm-hmm.
but his friend's family, um, their child had a medical mishap, and it's pretty like impactful what happened. And so Quantum wanted to send them money for them to get dinner that night, so like they at least
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have to worry about that. Um, so I thought that was really sweet of him too.
No, that is sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. It's the, like, just the current times version of bringing that casserole over to your neighbor when something's wrong. Oh, and we lost
Moth
our moth
Muse just
and our
stumbled into our
Quantum.
virtual
They'll be
realm.
back. Their internet is a
Someone
little
hold their
flaky.
hand. They look lost.
Divine, did you want to wait for them to come back, or did you want to go ahead and share? Oh, there, they're back. See, it doesn't take
Quantum
long.
Fox is wanted in several
Okay.
Our
other
Wi-Fi is
spaces.
awful.
Yes,
Take
I
cover
just explained that. Were you, did you have more to add there?
um, I don't think anything with that except like I think something
Oh, yes. Here, I got you, Moth. There you go. You're good now.
oh, thank you. I was just gonna say, I think with that, when people are kind of in a crisis, that's a really important time to show them kindness.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Charming Breed
seen
is here for cuddles and
a
milk.
lot
Is
of
all out of cuddles. Hello?
oh,
Okay. Sorry, continue. Continue, and then we'll get to Divine.
lightning storm. Um, but yeah, I think it's important when they're in crisis, and some of the easier things you can do are like, what are their basic needs that they might not be taken care of right now?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
because if you just ask someone, "What can I do for you?" that just gives them another like mental task to do, and they
Mm-hmm.
might not be
They might not even
operating at full
ask.
capacity.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or they might feel bad and not want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Or like in the Lean on Me chat the other day, the support group, talking about the spoons that people have. They might not
Mm-hmm.
have enough spoons to even.
Yeah.
Oh, kitty cat.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that Zelda?
Yes.
Aw. But they might not have even enough spoons to say what they need you to do. They can't even think of that at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to take care of like some basic needs for them, I think helps out a lot.
Yep,
Divine,
absolutely.
what did you have to add?
First off, I just got some major deja vu and I'm scared because what happened in my deja vu was not good.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I hope that deja vu does not come true. Anyways,
I'm afraid to ask what it is.
let's just say it involves me getting into a fight with someone and getting kicked off a project. So let's just
Oh
say that much.
no. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But that's
Mm.
what happened in my whatever dream or deja vu or whatever the heck deja vu is. But anyways, that's a different subject. But I just wanted to say that I do this a lot. I compliment people and try to help out
Rabbit
people
the
if I
jelly bean
see,
dealer
like,
arrived.
if I have like a good amount of food stamps, on me and stuff like that. And there's someone in line that looks like they're struggling with paying with like some of their groceries and stuff. I will take some of theirs and pay for it for them. And like if I see someone that looks like they're having a bad day, I'll comment saying that they have a nice shirt or I like their hair or something. I usually do that anyways. Like if it's like dyed hair or something like that, I'm always complimenting people with dyed hair
Mhm.
because I love dyeing my hair and I love people that like have their different colors and stuff, and it's amazing. I love it. And tattoos
Mhm.
as well. Like I like commenting people and stuff. But there is also the fact that because someone's having a bad day, if you let it go around you too much, it could turn your day into a bad day as well. And you
Mm-hmm.
could also transfer that as well to some other people, not
Yeah.
knowing, like, being upset. Like, say I was having a great day, I went out, someone was depressed and like telling me like their problems and stuff like that, and I'm one of the people that will take people's problems and kind of like make them my own because I care a lot. So I
Mhm.
like, I take on people's issues, I guess, and I guess I bring it home sometimes and like say that I did that and I did it, chillax or relax afterwards, and AJ came up to me and started screaming. I would probably get upset and scream back. But yeah, so it's like stuff like that, you never know what could happen. So I would say that yes, complimenting people and doing stuff for people is great, but if they're in a bad mood, don't let them be around you too long to be in a bad mood because it could change your mood, and that would not be good. That's
Mm.
all I'm saying.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yep. You
think
Try
have
to
to
try to
protect
stay
your
your mood
peace.
mhm.
chill.
And sometimes if you give people in a bad mood time after you've kind of tried to help them, they can
Hmm.
calm down enough to realize you were just trying to help, and then
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it might be better to like give them space until they can calm down enough and then go back to them.
yeah,
Yep.
just yeah. Um, I'm eating some really awesome stuffed peppers right now. Just feel like
Ooh,
I
I
would
love
tell you
stuffed
that.
peppers. Yum.
Hmm.
I made homemade chicken noodle soup last night. Woo
I
woo.
saw the pictures.
It was so good. We
I
still have
bet.
leftovers.
Sending
Let me
pictures
see.
now.
Let's see here.
Oh goodness.
So, another quote I had was from the Dalai Lama, which is be kind whenever possible. It is always possible. And I like that one as well. Um, although, sometimes maybe not as easy as it is other times.
Yes.
So, let's see. I like the idea of kindness kind of as like on a social level. Um, so the saying like it takes a village came from back when people were in villages and it was a close-knit community and everyone helped with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that, especially from like motherhood, um, I don't have hardly any mom friends, especially that live around me.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so anything I need help with really depends on whether someone in my family or quantum side of the family, if they're available to help with that. Um, but I've read about like communities of like friends moving together and then doing acts of kindness sort of which would just
Mhm.
be, well, I'll take care of all the kids. So that takes all the kids to like maybe one or two people.
Mhm.
And then the other people are doing things for that person, like maybe they're cleaning their house or something.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was like a really interesting concept. Kind of going back from like how today everyone's kind of alienated themselves for the most part. I mean, it's a lot less like communities than it used to be, except I would say Banter is a great community, like online
Mhm.
communities.
Yeah, there
But
has
that
been a
kind of,
shift.
yeah, that village mentality is not really around so much anymore.
IT Trey is now part of our virtual mischief.
That's absolutely true. Even like from when I had a young child, like, and compared to now where you have young children, like, it's completely different. Because so much, like, so much has changed, and there's, like when I was a child, and even when my child was a child, so much of growing up was being outside.
Mhm.
And nowadays that's not so much. It's like you're on a screen more than you're outside, and
Mhm.
video games and tablets, and back then it was only like the TV shows, and
Yeah.
movies and stuff. But there's also, you know nowadays, for the most part, like, both parents usually have to work
Mhm.
to make ends meet. And like my mom didn't have to have a job until I was in high school, so I had
Mhm.
my mom there. But when I had a kid, I had to work. So, I would, and the sad thing was I had to do 4 to midnight. So my kid would be in
Aw.
school, then I would see my kid, and then I would work, and then I would be there,
Mm.
in the morning. But
Mhm.
so, and even like
That's
those
rough.
programs, yeah, it was. And there's programs, like a recreation center and stuff, where you could go, and it was like for parents and kids. So you could bring your kid, the kids could play, and the adults could, have time with other adults.
Mhm.
And that kind of thing just doesn't seem to exist like anywhere that I've lived in the past 10 plus years, which is
Mhm.
unfortunate. And we have parks and that, but like when I'm, going to work or doing errands or whatever, I usually, those parks are empty. So I
Yeah.
think most of the interactions kids get, um, are in school, and then outside of school they're in these online communities. And I just can't imagine, like, growing up with social media and all that stuff, and where, your
Mhm.
dumbass moment, like tripping in the middle of a road, is preserved forever on the internet, and people you'll
Mhm.
never even meet are making fun of you. Like, it's so different now.
Oh yeah. Like, that kind of makes me think, have you heard of Miley Cyrus's song, Used to Be Young?
Yes, that is a nice
So,
song. I like that.
yeah, and that made me think, like, man, because I was never like, super into Miley Cyrus or anything, but I love that
Mm,
song.
yeah,
And
same.
like she had to grow up with all of her crazy ass mistakes like amplified and like
Wise Sir Blue is here to Masala kiss is here to kiss snowy butt
and
cheeks.
recorded like forever. Oh,
Sorry, it's
that's
raining.
okay. Yes, yes, very stormy today. Um, but yeah, like all of her mistakes of her youth were recorded and,
Yeah.
you know, people witnessed it. And man, I am so glad that was not the case for me because
Mm-hmm.
I made tons of mistakes. I'm sure everyone did. So, but mine were not recorded. But yeah, today's
Yeah.
generation, that would be nerve-wracking.
Like, yeah, you don't have the expectation of privacy that we
Mhm.
had. And I mean, when you're growing, and it doesn't matter if you're like a little kid, or you're like, a preteen or a teen, you're still learning how to be a human, and what's
Oh yeah.
appropriate and what's not. So
Mhm.
to
For a
have,
long
I don't
time.
know, yeah. And that, I think, ties a little bit into mental health too, because I think, 20 years from now, we're going to have a lot of people with issues that there hasn't been a lot of people with, just because of the circumstances that they grew up in. And it's another thing where taking that moment to do that kindness or to be
Mm-hmm.
that person that just kind of, maybe shocks them out of that headspace is important. And if
Mm-hmm.
people have it within themselves, they should absolutely do that. And it's the whole paying it forward concept too. Like you did with
Oh
the
yeah.
chocolate bar. Somebody did that to you, and now
Mm-hmm.
you've taken that and then you do it for other people. And who knows what those people that got that chocolate bar, what how it changed their day, or what it made, what decision that they made differently because of that kindness, where they passed that kindness on to somebody else. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have any idea. And that's just the more reason to do it, is because you never know, like, skipping
Butterflies.
a pebble, yeah, across water, right? Those ripples, like, you never
Mm-hmm.
know how wide and how far reaching that one little thing that you might not even think about the next day, what kind of impact it had on that person and the people that they interacted with after that.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Because like as Edgar said, the power of a smile. Someone might
Mm-hmm.
smile at a stranger who looks like they're having a bad day,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that stranger was going to like kind of go off on someone, maybe like say, I don't know, like a mechanic that worked on his car.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you know what? Like, this isn't that bad, actually. I'm not going to do that. And maybe he gave a compliment instead. And, like, it just
Mm-hmm.
keeps going and going.
Yeah. Or like you, maybe they made something their own, and then, even weeks, months, years later, they're still doing that thing and it's still having that effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like me,
And yes. Yes.
when I paid for
Yeah.
that person's groceries, maybe they did it for someone else one day when they
Mm-hmm.
could.
That's true.
That would
Mm-hmm.
be awesome.
Yeah.
I
And,
donated blood one time, and it was actually my first time doing it because I couldn't do it the very first time because I was pregnant, and that's actually how I found out. But anyways,
oh my.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. They were like, "Could you be pregnant?" And I'm like, "Maybe, I think, I don't know." And they're like, "Well, we have to test you first because you can't donate if you can't, if you're pregnant." And I'm like, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they tested me, and they were like, "Yeah, you are pregnant." And I'm like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that was with AJ. But anyway, so I went and got mini test after that. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, so anyways, but my first time donating, it was pretty awesome. I did it with my dad. It was his first time too, and he was doing it to be brave and show my mom that he can be brave and stuff and get money for them, because it was like to get a $25 like card or something like that. It could be like a Walmart card or Amazon card or whatever. But anyways, um, about, I'd say it was like maybe a month later or something like that. I swear they contacted me and they said that my blood is being used to save someone's life. I still have
Aw,
the email. It's crazy.
that's
It's
cool.
like they sent me an email and they said that your blood, or your what is it they call it, your donation was on the way to go to this hospital to save someone's life. And they told
That's
me the
awesome.
hospital and everything. Yeah. I'll see if I
Yeah.
can find the email and I'll post it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It tells you that you're saving someone's life and all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
And
that's pretty cool.
that's an awesome way for places to get more donations, I feel like, because you're actually having an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's really awesome.
That's really cool.
I showed my dad and he's like, they haven't sent me nothing like that yet. And I'm like, oh, sorry,
You'll get
Dad.
there.
But yeah, so, but anyways, yeah, I'm full now with my peppers. So,
Yum. Yay,
yeah.
peppers. Um, Going off of like kind of sending our own butterflies out into the world, Kitty and I had a very brief discussion right before this episode. But we want to kind of add a little bit to the end of this podcast. We're gonna call it the Butterfly Garden, and we'll kind of like challenge you guys to send your own butterflies out. So before you come back next week, try to do an act of kindness. Whatever it may be, doesn't have to involve money, could just be like complimenting someone. Anything like helping your neighbor carry in the groceries if they need help, anything like that. And then
Day
when we
your
come
hands
back,
sorry. There we go.
there's
Done.
your compliment. Done.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, and so that's okay. So we'll come back next week and we will discuss what kind of butterflies you guys sent out into the world. I think that
Yeah.
would be nice.
And that's
And
one
then
thing that's important for people to remember, just, that their actions matter and they
Yeah.
create waves of positivity in the world when you're positive.
Exactly. And it goes the other way too. You got to watch what little negativity you spread into the world because it could amplify.
Yep.
And then Kitty, did you have anything to add before we ask for like suggestions for topics or anything?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, we've
Does
got
anyone?
Yes. No, I was just gonna say we got 4 minutes left.
Oh,
We'll get
okay.
some topics and then we'll let Shoseki get on his way.
And we do still have Kitty kept a list of topics you guys suggested last week, so we'll still consider those as well. But if you have any other suggestions for topics of
Iron Wolf decided to join us in the simulation.
like actions or things like even world events that could have been changed that would affect the future, or things that could happen now that would affect the future, anything like that. Kindness was a really interesting one though to discuss that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meg just
So if you
stumbled
have any
into our
suggestions,
virtual
just
realm.
do a little hop or
Someone
something.
hold their hand. They look lost.
And I'll just to give people some ideas, I'll just read from what we had from last week. So smart cars were never invented. Railroads were never invented. Alcohol never existed. Guns were never invented. Prisons never existed. Okay, and then there's the idea that Echo gave us, which we did, and then what if sugar had never been subsidized? So those were the ones that I had recorded from last time.
What if colonialism never existed?
Man, that's a really big one. Have a lot of waves.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to add, what if corporations were not allowed to make as much money as they make? And there was an actual, real trickle down.
What if the 4th of July never happened?
America never gained independence, okay?
Wiz be speaking as a gentleman.
What if we had colonized the moon? Say about when the moon landing took place.
Okay. Did the moon landing take place?
What if the Second Amendment had never been written?
What if the Second Amendment had never been written? Okay. Now, I'm a Canadian, obviously. I've heard of it. I just want, is that the right to bear arms, or is that a different one?
Yeah.
Okay. Because my understanding of that was that it was something that was put in place for the time because there wasn't the military and it was never supposed to become what it has become today.
Yep. And it was referring to the old firearms and not...
Exactly. Not AK-47s.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a good one.
But a lot of people will argue those facts.
Sorry, say that again. What if
dinosaurs never died out?
Oh.
Never died.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Humans might not be a thing.
I want a Tyrannosaurus Rex as a pet. Yeah. Or one of those ones that like what's the
Ready
ones
Player
that what are they
2
called?
event starting now.
The really skinny ones that run in the building on the movie. Jurassic
I know what you
Oh,
mean. Like
Raptors.
from, yeah.
Is it
Raptors?
Raptors?
Okay.
Yeah, I want
The
a
really
Raptor.
fast
Yeah,
ones?
I want to
Yeah,
ride
Yeah,
it.
the
but
I
the,
Velociraptors.
want to ride
the
it.
cute ones that Chris Pratt trained, those ones, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, that one.
So
Have you
it is
guys
on
ever?
the.
Sorry.
So I just wanted to let Shiseki go because it is on the hour. Was there anything you wanted to say, Moth?
No, I was just gonna ramble on about dinosaurs. My ADD was in control there, steering the wheel.
I love it.
Yes.
Well,
But
thank you, Moth.
thank you,
you
Kate.
you did wonderfully. I really enjoyed this today.
Yeah, I liked it. It was nice hearing everyone's thoughts.
Mhm.
And don't forget about the butterflies next week
Mhm.
to make your own and do an act of kindness.
Aw. Yes. We look.
Go ahead.
So it was like a little delay, right?
I know,
But
I know.
we do look forward to seeing you all next week. We enjoy doing this, and I appreciate all the interesting topic ideas we have.
Thank you.